Hi, Soul Family. It's Jenna Pinkstone, the Southern Oracle, signing on and syncing up with you November 1st. The full moon energy is still kind of upon us. There's much afoot that is yet to come. I wanted to talk about political parties and everything that awaits us tomorrow. In reality, I want us to all kind of envision ourselves down to loincloth status. I know that's not necessarily a historically accurate depiction of primitive man and woman, but it certainly conjures up for the imagination a visualized understanding of what it is I'm conveying here in my spirit world exploration as I channel this wisdom for us all. So down to a loincloth status, walking out into a field, leaving this world behind us, moving further and further away from civilization, from collective influence of the multitude of many others that share within this space of experience. We all have this aspect of ourselves that is simply ourselves, unhindered by the imbalance of the tribal warfare that we seem to fall into by default when many of us gather, when there are powerful influencers that set to channel the energy that each of us blazes within our own individual hearts. That heartfelt energy, that blazing light within each of us is made greater and grander, like that of a bonfire, when they are collectively pooled together into a common interest. So it would not need be considered good or bad, whatever that common interest is, to rise to the heightened levels. One can understand that the depiction of the dualistic good or bad is an illusion that is dissolved the further up one goes to gain a better, insightful look. As we venture off the commonly tread landscape of civilized society, we can finally be alone. We can finally be away so that we can gain a perspective that is neutralized and far less tampered with by all of the outside influences trying to stake their claim upon our energy blazing within our hearts. I used to be a liberal Democrat in the red state of Texas. When I was in college, I campaigned for Hillary Clinton because I felt a need to be there for others in a way that, as it was depicted for me at the time, they needed someone to be there for them. That is what blazes within the hearts of the bleeding heart liberals. They seek good They seek change for all of the positive intentions of their fellow men and women of every color. There is the pure intention that is accessed in the heightened levels of the greater dimensions. I've come to see that the Republican side of things is not bad. It actually represents many different aspects of understanding that I found myself aligning with more and more as time went on. I can understand a need for protection. I can understand a need to preserve tradition. I can understand a need for the protection of human lives, both the born and the unborn. I can understand the need for the protection of borders. If that which we hold dear within our hearts is something aligned with that we envision in a visualization process. You see, a border between countries is nothing less than that. It is a visualization held by a collective. A fence might make it more material and manifested in this 3D existence. But long before that ever was there, or any sign, and that border stood upon maps that could be referenced, it was merely a visualization until that came to pass. A visualization of what another side sees serves to dissolve the border between you and that, serving the purpose to dissipate it as another side at all. I've come to find that I actually love every single person, even whenever they are out of balance and feel the need to strike against their brethren and sister folk in the name of tribal warfare. I have family and friends on both sides of this illusory isle, and I love them all so dearly, just as I love all of you. This is the state of what it is we need to experience in order to move into an omni-amorous perspective of this world which we all inhabit. So, regardless of what comes to pass after the election tomorrow, I want to conjure one more visualization that I'm bringing from a movie from the 1990s. Many of you may have seen it. It was called Merlin, and it was actually about Merlin the wizard, and it was the story of him and King Arthur and all of the other mythological folk. And what I want to bring and conjure up from this movie is the villain, Queen Mab. She was the villain of all. She was the she was the representative of the gods of old. And she wreaked havoc on everyone's lives. She maimed and hurt and smited and killed. And she was a thorn in Merlin's side the whole way. They did everything they could to defeat her. But in the end, the way in which her malicious power was snuffed out was the entire collective of all who had interacted and interfaced with the misery that she brought them, chose to turn their backs on her and choose something else moving forward. They turned their back on Queen Mab, and they cited their intention to do so. And she screamed in pain, almost like the witch from The Wizard of Oz when water was thrown upon her, that which made her begin to melt. Queen Mab screamed and screeched at them all to look at her and to not turn their backs, but they did anyways, and she faded. Not just from the room. She disappeared, certainly, but she faded from memory as well. She faded from everybody's heart centers where they held so much fear in conjunction with her image. Sometimes that which is ripping us apart, soul family, like this tribal warfare I have witnessed in my own community. I just read a recent headline that talked of one party's bus traveling, and it was attacked by another party's bus. Just maliciously so. And for what? Did any of those people choose to get to know any of the people from the other vehicle, from the other party? Of course not, but they did choose to assault them. I bet I would put a pretty penny on a bet and say that there were many on both sides of that fight that happened just today in my local community here in Central Texas, that if they had gotten a cup of coffee together and chosen to speak about the values that they hold dear, about the families that they aim to protect, and about the sufferings and the challenges and all that has wreaked havoc on their lives, and they chose to do this, and in so doing they turned their back on those tribal warfare figureheads that aim only to harness their life force. I bet that in that moment, those masters of puppets would have simply disappeared for all of those people who would have chosen instead to enjoy each other's company and bask in one another's light. Sometimes we have to go to great depths of depravity in order to ascend, in order to decide that we want to ascend to greater heights of dimensional awareness of ourselves as infinite beings and others that are no less than that. No matter what. It doesn't matter what they've been told to believe or what you've been told to believe. If you're choosing to fight over this tribal fabrication, I'll call it, and that's a kind word, soul family, it's a fabrication that's being knitted by both sides towards our own middle. If you choose to turn your back on that for a moment and let it simply disappear, you'll see it never even really existed in the first place. Just like the illusory border between countries. One day, that won't be recognized any longer, and it will simply be the Terra that exists on Earth Mother Gaia that is at this moment exposed on the surface, at this moment able to meet the sun. I love you all, soul family. And I do hope that you will reach out to me to share your own extrasensory experiences, and also simply for support, because we all need someone to lean on occasionally. And if that is the case, I hope you'll join me on Patreon, where our inner soul family circle is joining together in a reunion of sorts, so that we can begin discussions, illuminations, and discoveries that are truly magnificent and aim to brighten each other's light rather than squelch it out. If this video spoke to you, I hope that you will like and subscribe to my channel for future offerings, and visit me on southernoracleeye.com, where we can actually work together to build a more extrasensory world. Thank you, and I'll see you in another version of the Now in future offerings.